Welcome to Echo Tales, where secrets unravel and regrets echo louder than apologies. It's not the question itself that haunts me, but the utter absence of a flinch when she asked it. We were in the quiet rhythm of meal prep, she meticulously slicing cucumbers, I peeling carrots, and then, with the same casual tone one might use to mention running out of toothpaste, she uttered the words that fractured everything. Would you be okay if I spent just one night with someone else? Just one night. As if she were asking to borrow a charger. The air thickened. I didn't respond. I don't think I even breathed. My hands, on autopilot, kept peeling, but my mind had utterly ceased. I genuinely thought she was joking. Some bizarre, cruel test to see if I'd crack. I forced a nervous chuckle, the sound hollow in my own ears. What? Like a hall pass. She turned, the kitchen knife still in her hand, her expression unnervingly calm. I'm not joking. That's when the peeler slipped from my grasp. It clattered to the tiled floor with a metallic ring, a sound like a single cymbal crash, impossibly loud in the sudden, suffocating quiet. I'll spare you the agonizing back and forth, the desperate bargaining, the hollow questions I knew were futile. Is it someone I know? It was. Why now? She claimed she didn't know. She insisted she didn't want a divorce, didn't want to leave me. She merely wanted to feel something new for one night, and believed being transparent absolved her. After those words, I found myself in the laundry room. Not the sanctuary of our bedroom, not the escape of the car, but the sterile, forgotten laundry room. I sat on the dryer, a broken automaton, staring at nothing for an entire, desolate hour. When I emerged, I didn't rage. I didn't accuse. I didn't beg. Instead, I offered her two sealed, unlabeled envelopes. You choose one, I told her, my voice flat. But once it's open, you live with what's inside. She tried to protest, to talk, to bargain for more discussion, but I cut her off. You asked a direct question, I said. I'm giving a direct choice. She chose. And that's when everything truly began to unravel, though neither of us could have predicted how. The envelope she opened contained a single, stark sentence, centered on the page. No emotion, no explanation. Just this: if you walk out that door to be with him, don't ever come back through it again. She didn't speak. Her fingers trembled minutely as she held the note, yet her face remained terrifyingly serene. She folded it once, meticulously, placed it beside the untouched plates of food on the counter, and then, unnervingly, asked what was in the other envelope. It doesn't matter anymore, I replied. You've made your choice. We stood there, locked in a stare that felt like hours but was only seconds. The silence between us wasn't angry. It was something far crueler. It was absolute, it was final. Perhaps that scared her more than any scream I could have unleashed. I didn't expect you to actually go through with this, she finally whispered. And I countered, didn't expect you to ask me for permission to betray me. That was it. She left. No dramatic exit. No slammed door. Just her keys, her phone, and the phantom scent of her perfume, lingering in the air like a mocking echo. I stood frozen in the kitchen, my legs rooted to the spot. The half-peeled carrots lay abandoned on the cutting board. The scent of sautéed garlic, which just moments ago promised comfort, now turned my stomach. That night, sleep was an impossible luxury. I sat on the edge of the bed, still in my t-shirt and jeans, watching the world slowly lighten outside. My phone became an extension of my anxiety, picked up and put down countless times. No message, no call, no update. Just a gaping, silent void where my marriage had once been. At 7:12 a.m., as the first rays of sun pierced the blinds, I finally opened the second envelope myself. It read, "If you stay, you'll tell him goodbye forever, and we start again. Counseling, rebuilding, honesty from scratch. No lies, no shadows. But I get your full truth, too." It was my version of mercy, a path back from the precipice. She never saw that envelope, and in the cold light of that dawn, I wasn't sure if she ever deserved to. But then, at 10:44 a.m., she returned, not with a face etched with shame or guilt, but with his pale blue shirt clutched in her hands. And what she said next annihilated whatever fragile fragments of me remained. She walked through the front door as if it were any other morning, as if she hadn't pulverized something vital within me less than 12 hours before. I was on the floor by the coffee table, a landscape of untouched takeout containers around me. I couldn't bring myself to look at her directly, but I saw the corner of that shirt, undeniably a man's, dangling from her grip. Folded, yes, but creased and stained to the collar. I recognized it. From his photo. The old friend she swore she barely spoke to. She dropped the shirt onto the table, the fabric rustling softly. "He didn't touch me," she said, her voice unnervingly even. "Not the way you think." Then she sat down opposite me, as if we were merely settling in for a morning coffee. I remained silent. I feared if I spoke, I would either explode or dissolve into tears, or both. She continued, undeterred. "We went to his apartment. We talked. He kissed me, but I couldn't go through with it. It felt wrong. It was wrong." Her voice cracked, just a whisper, enough to sound rehearsed, a performance rather than genuine remorse. Then she added the words that made my skin crawl. "I realized something while I was with him. I don't think I regret asking you for that night." That, right there, that was the precise moment something inside me irrevocably snapped. She didn't regret asking for a night with another man. She didn't regret tearing the very foundation from beneath us. In her mind, this was all part of clarity, exploration, growth. And now, she expected to simply climb back into our life, as if it hadn't been set ablaze. "Why'd you bring his shirt back?" I managed to ask. She met my gaze, unflinching. "Because I thought you should know I chose not to wear it." The sheer, breathtaking arrogance of that statement made my hands tremble. She wanted credit for almost cheating, for returning with some imagined moral badge pinned to her chest. I stood, walked past her, and without a word, retreated into our bedroom. For the first time in years, I locked the door. She knocked softly at first, then again. I didn't answer. I wasn't sure who I was more furious with, her for asking, or myself for still loving her after everything. She slept on the couch that night, or at least she pretended to. I could hear her restless tossing, the soft, hesitant whispers of my name, a gentle tap on the bedroom door around midnight, like a child seeking comfort after a nightmare. I never answered. My hand remained clamped over my mouth, suffocating every scream, every accusation. I was terrified that if I started speaking, I wouldn't stop. I'd unravel completely, transforming into someone unrecognizable, someone I didn't want to become. In the morning, she was already awake, perched at the kitchen table, still in yesterday's clothes, her phone held in her hands as if it weighed 100 pounds. I walked past her, grabbed a glass of water, utterly silent. But then she did something that irrevocably shifted the landscape between us. She slid her phone across the table towards me. "I thought you should see these," she said, her eyes glassy, her voice barely a whisper. I almost didn't want to look, but curiosity, a cruel master, overpowered my wounded pride. There were messages, hundreds of them, a digital trail of her and him. Their conversations stretched back over 2 months. Most were emotionally charged, playfully flirtatious. A few crossed lines, so blatantly, they might as well have been illuminated in neon. But one message from the night she left stood out like a beacon. It was a photo of her in his apartment, sitting on the edge of his bed, fully clothed, tears streaming down her face. The caption read, "I can't do this to him. I thought I could, but I can't." I stared at that photo for a long time, the painful ache of two conflicting realities warring in my chest. One where she had faltered at the precipice and turned back, and another where she had willingly, calculatingly walked to that edge in the first place. "I sent that before I came home," she explained, her voice fragile. "I wanted you to know I didn't lie." I gently placed the phone face down. My hands were trembling again. My voice, when it came, was a raw whisper. "Why did you even let get this far?" She looked away. "Because I didn't know if we were real anymore." That confession struck me harder than any outright betrayal. Somewhere along the winding path of our life, I thought we were fine. Comfortable, perhaps, even boring at times, but never unreal, never disposable. I walked away from her again, not fueled by anger this time, but by the chilling certainty that something fundamental within me had permanently changed. Not just how I saw her, but how I saw myself. And that's when I truly understood. Something even more insidious than betrayal had crept into our home. Doubt. The next day, she was simply gone. No note, No message. Vanished before the first light of dawn. Her side of the closet remained untouched. A perfect, mocking still life. Yet her shoes, her small, everyday shoes, were missing. I stood in the doorway of our bedroom, staring at the empty entryway, as if it held some profound explanation. For a fleeting, desperate moment, I wondered if the last 48 hours had been nothing but a fevered dream. The envelopes, the shirt, the photo, perhaps none of it was real. But then I saw her phone. She had left it charging in the kitchen, unlocked, and that's how I found the deleted folder. A hidden trove of photos, voice memos, and one long video clip she had clearly intended to erase forever. I knew I shouldn't have watched it. I truly did. But curiosity, a ravenous beast, isn't something you can control when your entire life has been dragged through the ashes. The video was dated 2 weeks prior, long before her casual one-night request. She was in a hotel room, wearing that familiar lavender robe, but she wasn't alone. He was there, in the blurry background, shirtless, laughing. She looked directly into the camera, and then she said something that seared itself into my memory. If I told Calvin now, he'd crumble. So, I'm gonna wait. I need this just once. Then I'll go back to being his perfect wife. I paused the video. My stomach churned. My hands went numb. The betrayal didn't just reside in her actions. It thrived in her meticulous planning. She had orchestrated this entire charade. She had calculated the timeline, carefully constructed the illusion of honesty. It was all part of her carefully crafted script. And I was merely the fool who had unwittingly agreed to play the forgiving husband. But what truly shattered me, what truly snapped the last thread of hope, was the second voice memo I discovered. Her voice again, softer this time, recorded at 3:12 a.m. the night she had returned home. "I think I hate who I become when I'm with him," she whispered. "But I hate who I am when I'm with Calvin even more." She had spoken it to no one, perhaps to herself, perhaps to me, a ghost listening in the future. I don't know. But hearing it, raw and unedited, ripped away whatever pathetic remnants of my pride still clung to existence. I sat on the kitchen floor for what felt like an eternity, the refrigerator's low hum, the only sound, trying to reconcile the man she once clung to during violent thunderstorms with a man she now couldn't even tolerate in silence. And for the first time, I didn't cry. I simply felt hollowed out, utterly empty. I ignored her first hesitant knock, and then her second. By the third, she was using her own keys again, as if the last 2 days of silent, agonizing separation had never happened. I was in the guest room, if you could even call it that, just a mattress on the floor, a bare lamp, and the echo of someone I barely recognized anymore. Me. She peered in tentatively, without asking. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice hushed, as if requesting bathroom time from a roommate. I said nothing, just sat there, my gaze fixed on the single photograph still on the dusty shelf. Our honeymoon picture. We were laughing, covered in sand, her nose playfully sunburned, my shirt inside out. That version of us, so full of joy and innocence, felt like it belonged to strangers now. "I know what you saw," she continued, her voice small or fragile. "You went through my phone. I should have deleted those. I wasn't thinking." That sentence made me flinch, not because she had caught me, but because even now, her shame was directed at me, seeing her betrayal rather than the act of committing it. "I didn't sleep with him," she added quickly. "Not that night. I swear." I finally looked at her, my eyes piercing through her flimsy defense. "Why are you still talking like that's the line that matters?" She froze, then walked in slowly, cautiously, like approaching an injured animal. "Because I thought that was what you needed to hear. That I didn't go through with it. But you wanted to," I said quietly, a statement, not question. "You planned to." She nodded, her gaze falling, no excuses offered this time. "I don't even know what this is anymore," I whispered, the words heavy. "Are we still a marriage, or just two people engaged in damage control?" Her answer came too fast, too eager. "I want to fix this." "You can't fix something you don't even regret breaking," I told her. That's when her face truly changed. She looked scared for the very first time. Perhaps not of me, but of the terrifying unknown that lay ahead. Because I stood up, walked over to the old, unopened envelope, and slid it toward her across the mattress. Then open it, I said, and choose again. But this time, I'm not the one who walks away if it's the wrong choice. She stared at the envelope for a long, agonizing moment, as if it were a fragile relic unearthed from a time before everything in our lives had collapsed. Her fingers hovered over it, hesitant, almost fearing it might bite. I said nothing. I didn't need to. There are no more speeches left in me, just a silence so thick, so cold, so utterly final. Finally, she opened it. The same note, still perfectly folded, revealed itself. If you stay, you'll tell him goodbye forever. And we start again. Counseling, rebuilding honesty from scratch. No lies, no shadows. But I get your full truth, too. Her eyes scanned the words twice. Then she looked up, her gaze searching mine, desperate to gauge if the offer still stood. I didn't move, my expression unreadable. I'll block him, she said quietly, a tremor in her voice. I'll cut him out completely. I'll go to therapy. I'll tell you everything. Just don't give up on me yet. But I wasn't moved. Not in the way she desperately wanted me to be. Something deep inside me had shifted too far, too irrevocably, to ever return to where we were. It wasn't hate, not even anger, but a profound, weary exhaustion from years of pretending, from carrying the suffocating weight of her indecision, for being the only one who didn't lie until it was far too late. You said you needed to feel something new. I said, my voice calm low. Did you ever think I needed something too? She bit her lip, her eyes brimming. I know I was selfish. No. I corrected her, my voice unwavering. You were cruel. I saw the crack then, the precise moment a part of her began to break. The part that finally comprehended this wasn't just about one night. This was about every single thing she had taken for granted. Then, I pulled out the final thing I had left. A letter I had written the night she first left, never intending to deliver it. But the time felt right. She unfolded it with shaking hands and read, I would have forgiven you for the mistake, but not for the planning, not for the lies wrapped in honesty, and not for turning my love into a test I never agreed to take. She looked up, tears streaming down her face now, smudging her makeup, her mouth agape as if she couldn't breathe. So what does this mean? She asked, her voice broken. It means, I said, rising to my feet, my voice clear and resolute, that I finally choose me. And with that, I walked past her, out the door, and into a world that for the first time in years didn't revolve around waiting for someone else's apology. It's been 4 months since I walked away. There was no grand, dramatic finale, no desperate airport chase, no screaming match in the rain. Just a key dropped silently into a mailbox, and a profound, echoing silence where once there had been incessant noise. I stayed with my cousin for a while, then found a small apartment on the other side of town. It's nothing luxurious. The water heater groans like a phantom, and the ceiling fan wobbles precariously when it spins, but it is mine. For the first time in years, everything in my life, from the creaking floorboards to the wobbly fan, feels like it genuinely belongs to me. Lenora did try to contact me once. A message simply asking, "Are you really gone?" I never replied. Not out of hatred, not for revenge. I simply had nothing left to say. Sometimes, closure isn't about getting answers. It's about realizing you no longer need them. Therapy, surprisingly, helped immensely. I never pictured myself as the kind of man who would confide in a stranger about my deepest feelings, but it turns out bottling everything up was slowly suffocating me. I had to confront the uncomfortable truth. I had a pattern of choosing people who made me feel replaceable because, deep down, I didn't believe I deserved more. But I do. And if you're listening to this, perhaps you do too. I've started dating again, slowly, cautiously, not to prove anything, but simply to feel again on my own terms. Last week, I met someone who laughs a little too loud in restaurants and insists on ordering dessert first. Her name is Karen. And no, she's not the one yet. But she looks me in the eye when I speak. She doesn't make me feel like a placeholder. And for now, that is enough. So, this story doesn't end with revenge, or high drama, or some shocking twist. It ends with peace. My peace, hard-won and deeply earned. Thank you for joining me on this journey here on Echo Tales. If you connected with this story, please like and subscribe, and share your thoughts below. And remember, sometimes walking away isn't weakness. Sometimes, It is the bravest first step toward becoming exactly who you were always meant to be.